Yo, what's going on, guys? Hope everybody's having a great day today. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about why so many developers are miserable. This could be from just the lack of vision of what you're building, having a bunch of deadlines and projects that you need to get done, having just a team that's not collaborative. They don't want to see you grow, or they just stick to their own thing and they don't care. No collaboration, there's no communication. It's pretty much just work on the code and that's it. And that's boring. That is very boring, okay? And people could get stuck in a way to where they're not really pushing themselves, they're not growing, they're not learning, they're not really building something that means something to them, and they lose that vision. And if you are feeling this way right now, you have to understand these signs, and you have to understand when to put yourself back, right? And think about yourself a little bit here, and not just keep giving your all to other people. Because at the end of the day, it's just you, right? You could work on a team that's somewhat decent, but then if you're not really in the flow state to where you're building something and you're happy about it, it's going to show. It's going to show in how you present yourself to others, and then also just in terms of like how you do work. Here are a couple reasons why some of these developers, or many of these developers, are miserable, and what you need to do to get back on track, to be happy, to be passionate. Okay, so the number one thing right now, and trust me, I've dealt with this before and it was a nightmare. It's just technical debt. When you're dealing with a big application, you're gonna have a lot of technical debt. When you first start writing things out to get something functioning to where you could have an MVP, it goes out into the customer base, right? You start selling it and now you're getting customers, you're getting clients, right? As long as it functions, that's all that matters. I'm a big believer in that. But at the end of the day, when you know there's a fundamental flaw in what's going on with the code, how they're going to be future gotchas if we don't take care of this, you're going to lead to massive tech debt. And every application has tech debt. But when it comes to a point where you're looking at the code, you can't even figure out what the flow is, what's going on. How do I solve this problem and get back on track to where everything is clean and we could collaborate and fix things easier? You got to cut your losses. And say, for example, you were to mess with that code and refactor it, it's probably going to introduce more issues because of the way everything is written. So this is why when it comes to just building out an application, especially if the application is big and is using the same functions in different areas, it's always good to have a utility file with all of those functions, those callback functions. And just making a change in that utility file, say, for example, it's bad code in there, you make a change, you clean it up, you test it. Now, all the other areas are taken care of. But because you haven't done that and you're defining a standard late in the game, and now you're trying to clean up all of that, it's going to take a lot of time to do that. And then there's going to be a lot of testing with that too. So that's why it's good to just have like a powwow for like a week or two of just cleaning up technical debt and figuring out, what the impact is. If you have the impact as being like, this is going to be catastrophic, then maybe you do it in phases. But if it's something very easy to do, just take care of it. It is what it is. The code that you write today might be technical debt later, but the better you write it, it won't be as a major impact. Technical debt usually makes developers pretty angry, especially when you're reading the code and you're trying to figure out just adding additional code to that broken code already to solve a problem or to fix an issue. You're gonna be frustrated. I've dealt with that before on a lot of projects, and it is not fun to deal with. The second thing is also deadlines, man. Deadlines for getting this feature out, getting this project out, and not having a clear mindset of what is the bigger picture? Why do we need to do all this, right? Why do we need to adhere to this deadline? And what is the value? If you don't have that communication there, how am I going to be passionate about building something or finishing something at a deadline? I'm going to be dragging my feet. So if you tell me what the value is and what kind of, why this is important and what the value it will bring to our customers, but then also for our team internally, That makes a lot of sense to me. But if you have deadline after deadline and there's a hard deadline to where, listen, if you don't get this done, we're going to have a problem. That's a lot of stress, unnecessary stress that you have to deal with. I like to ask a lot of questions when it comes to projects. I just don't look at the requirements and just say, hey, I'm just going to work on it. I'll ask so many questions. I'll read through the requirements like, well, why do we need to do this? What's the value of that? Usually, if you're working with a great team, they'll have a scope of everything that needs to be done and why it needs to be done. But, if you don't get that communication or it's not documented, you got to ask questions. Because at the end of the day, yeah, we got a deadline, but what exactly do we need to do here? Like, is this something that needs to go out because there's a contract that we're trying to secure on this? Or is it just a nice to have? Like, are people actually going to use this feature? Because I've built features before and was told, hey, this is going to be valuable to whoever needs to use it. And then realized down the road, no one was using it. I want you guys to do this every single time you work on a project. Please do this. Ask questions, clarifying questions to understand exactly why we have a deadline for this project and what the intended value is, okay? Because then that will make you passionate to get it done. Number 3 is ownership on certain things. I feel like if you're on a good team, a lot of people will take ownership on a lot of things. Gathering requirements for a project, making sure that the developer understands what's going on with that project and the meaning, like why you should spend your time building this feature. If you could explain that, perfect. But when it comes to just dealing with politics and other things that goes on, there's no ownership in that. Like, some people just don't take the ownership because they don't like confrontation, or they're just afraid to speak their mind. You can't do that. Like, if there's something that you want to own, like if there's a problem that you're dealing with every single day and every single developer has complained about this problem, speak up, say something. Don't just sit there and just keep dealing with the problem. That annoys me a lot when I know there's an issue and I'm like, yo, I gotta talk to someone about this. So I'll bring it up with the team. It's like, listen, the way we're going about, cherry picking different things, or like not merging the correct way, depending on what branch you're doing things from. If you're doing a branching strategy there, it causes a lot of issues because now you got like a merge conflict that you have to deal with. Now you have to get a hold of someone to look at the merge conflict to verify everything is all good. Did I pick the right changes, or did I just overwrite the new changes? That is annoying. So taking ownership on issues, taking ownership on projects to where you're literally working on something and the requirements aren't right and you're not communicating, or you decide to communicate, is going to save you so much time. So take ownership as much as you can, whether you are not the owner on the project, but you just have questions around certain things. You need to start asking questions and take ownership of what you want to do. Number 4 is, poor collaboration on projects, poor communication. If you're working with a team that doesn't communicate and you're trying to get a hold of someone and they don't reply to you, or they give you half-ass answers, the project's not going to be successful. It's just not. I like to collaborate with everybody that is either a stakeholder on the project, or they are, when it comes to just gathering the requirements on the product side, just having that collaboration in terms of what needs to be done. What is the bigger picture that we're trying to accomplish here? Like, what is the value? If you tell me all of that information, then I could be like, you know what? Okay, this is how I would build this feature out. And as I'm developing it, I would reach out more often in terms of, hey, this is a missed requirement, I think, or an edge case. Do you think we need to include this with the current project based on the timeline, or do you want to add it as like a V2 for like improvements later? Because we're definitely going to make improvements. But having that mindset to where, okay, this is how the feature is. You're reading through the requirements. Okay, this is checked off. This is checked off. Usually with a good team, they collaborate on what the feature should be, what problem is going to solve for the customer or the internal team. And then from there, the stakeholders need to sign off on it. The stakeholders will need to sign off. Okay, cool. Everybody read through the requirements. Everybody's good here, right? Yeah. Okay, cool. Now the developer would need to well, in my case, I'm a senior full stack developer, right? So I would tech plan it, and then I would create the stories, create the subtasks, if there's any subtasks around what needs to be done from a development perspective. As I'm going through the list, if there's something that I need to clarify what product on, or if there's something that that could be added to the project, I will bring it up. But I always collaborate and try to get meetings together so that we could actually talk instead of just Slack notifications or team notifications, right? Being able to talk effectively will solve a lot of problems or issues that might come up later. So make sure that you collaborate with your team members, make sure you collaborate with the product team, other stakeholders involved, and you're gonna notice that a lot of what needs to be done is clear, and you're gonna be happy with the end result. Number 5, which is a big one why developers are unhappy, is because they are not being recognized for their work. They are not being recognized for the code that they write, the problems that they're solving, the bugs that they're fixing, the features that they're building, and just overall adding value to the project, but not getting any recognition for their time and the amount of heartache and just hardship that they went through to get something out the door. And if you have a team that's like that, that's not going to be good for you. Okay? Have a team that will look at what you did and give you props, right? Whether it's finding a new tool for productivity to make things easier. You present that tool with the team, they give you the feedback, and based on that feedback, whether it's good or not, or maybe this will be a nice to have in the future, you did your part. But if everybody's like, this is great work, this is great, I really appreciate you bringing this to our attention, this is exactly what we need to do in the future, or this is what we need to do right now, that's recognition right there. You build a project out and you get it done before the deadline and it's tested and everything works good, and you were asking questions, you were engaging with everybody else in terms of what needs to be done, and then the end product is better than what is expected, and you get recognition for that for the entire company, that's awesome. But there are some companies that don't do that. You just work and that's it. You build a feature out, that's it. Off to the next thing. You can't even sit and enjoy the little wins that you get because it's on the go all the time. It's like on the go, let's go. Now, if you're on a good team, you worked on that project, you got it done, everything's all good, you're getting recognized for it, and you can move on to the next project, and it's going to be the same build up from the first one to the second one, third, so on and so forth, because you have a great team that will collaborate. And it's not going to be perfect all the time, because it never is. There's going to be issues, but at least there's going to be, I would say, about 80% good versus 20% bad, right? But you can live with that bad because everything will rebound once you have that conversation. But unfair recognition is a big thing. It's a big thing. And I'm lucky to be fortunate to be working with a company right now that recognizes everybody for their hard work and dedication to what they do. If you're not getting that, try to figure out what your next move is, because I assure you, you're going to be miserable and you're just going to not want to code or do anything. And then the last thing is, with technology, it's always expanding, it's growing. There's always some new shiny tool that is developed months, even years later, right? And then people talk about it and they're like, hey, like we should do this, we should do that, like we should use this. And that's cool. That's cool. But the biggest thing is having anxiety for learning new skills and really putting yourself in a box or bubble to where you can't be comfortable or expand on what you already know. Now, do you need to know everything out there? No, 100%. Listen, if it's something that you're passionate about, do it on your free time. Learn it, build the project out, understand the flaws, the pros, the cons, everything. And if you feel like it's valuable to the team that you're working on, bring it up to them. Create like a proof of concept. I'm a big believer in, if it's something that you want to present to your team to adapt them into following a certain standard, create a proof of concept of how to do it. Because at the end of the day, you could talk about it so much, right? But if people are not really grasping what's going on or like how this would impact the team, it's good to just have it right in front of them so that they understand like, okay, just do a demo, right? Of what, like create a project, do a demo, show exactly how it would translate to the code base itself that you guys are working on, and just show the benefits. But it all comes down to your passion for whatever is out there. If there's a tool that's better, there's a framework that's better, try it out. You know, just don't talk about it. Try it out for yourself before you run your mouth about it. Because if it doesn't really give a big deal around making improvements, then of course, like, what's the point? You know, you're wasting your time. But if there's major value in it, of course, bring it up. And don't beat yourself up about learning all these different technologies out there, bro. Like there's so many different languages. There's so many different libraries, frameworks out there that could potentially help with productivity. But it all comes down to what problem you're trying to solve right now. Just build your own personal project, see where it goes, make adjustments, and just have it benefit you for right now. But if it's not the team goal, it is what it is. You did what you needed to do. You showed the proof of concept. It's either they went with that, they didn't. It is what it is at the end of the day. You know, that's why developers are unhappy. And, you know, if you understand these 6 stages of unhappiness and why it happens, you got to just take action to get yourself out of there. So if you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe. Let me know reasons why you're unhappy that I haven't really talked about yet. And if you want to personally talk to me about it, you can send me an email at thefullstackbro@gmail.com. All right. So appreciate you guys looking at the video, and I appreciate you guys commenting, liking the videos. I really do like the engagement, and you know, we'll talk soon. And if there's any video topic, let me know.